Welcome to Landlord Diaries, where we talk about midterm rentals and the opportunities behind them. We'll share landlord stories, talk about maximizing investment potential, and discuss how to live the very best landlord life. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Furnished Finder, the place for everything midterm rentals. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content.
Hey everyone, we are back, and I just want to take this opportunity, as your host of the Landlord Diaries, Kelly Bailey here, to say thank you for listening. We really appreciate all of our subscribers, and if you need anything from us, please let us know.
And hey everyone, I am Katie here with Kelly as always. Today we have Gabe, and Gabe is so cool. He's a musician, and he kind of stumbled into investing in real estate and becoming a midterm rental host. And it was really cool to hear his story about how, when COVID hit and work as a musician was winding down really quickly, he was able to adapt and use midterm rentals as a tool to support himself and his family. And then he just took it and he grew, and now he just is opening his first international property. So he has some really good insights. He also has a really good mindset that I think every investor could benefit from hearing. So please enjoy, and don't forget that this episode and every episode is brought to you by Furnished Finder, where you can find nothing but midterm furnished rentals, so 30 days and over. Enjoy.
With us today is Gabe Kubanda, musician and investor. We all know musicians had it tough during COVID, but Gabe rose to the challenge and has grown from 1 to 11 rentals in the span of 2 years. He grossed $50K the first year and over $350K this year. Gabe prefers midterm rentals and has built most of his portfolio within walking distance to hospitals and medical facilities. Gabe also provides a fleet of rental cars for those travelers that need a little extra space. If you'd like to connect with Gabe, his website is kubandaproperties.com. Hello, Gabe. How are you today?
Hey, ladies. Thanks for having me. I am doing well.
We are so thankful that you are joining us on the show and excited for what you're going to share today. So let's jump into the first question, which is, you had a tough journey as a musician at the beginning of COVID, but now you have 11 rentals. So what was that process like for you?
Whew. I think like many people, that first month of COVID, first month or two when everything was shut down, was like a kind of a quick wake-up call and a reevaluation of life in general. And I think I was no exception with that. I know a lot of people had a lot of career changes and a lot of life changes during that time. And I think for those of us in the music industry that depended on live touring, performances, performance royalties, music trade shows, conferences, and all of those sorts of things, those just weren't in the cards anymore. And if you were like me at the time, where let's say 80% of your income is coming from live performance and touring and flying all over to different countries and different states and driving in a bus, for 3 months at a time across the states, what are you going to do? And so I kind of just felt it was kind of really funny. I think you guys probably are aware of South by Southwest, the big music festival in Austin,
Of course,
Texas,
I'm
right?
from Austin.
So we were supposed to kick off our spring tour in March 2020 there. And we were about to leave on March 12th to start our tour, start our trek from Phoenix at the time down to Austin and start our tour and go around the U.S. And I think it was on the night of the 11th or the morning of the 12th, we heard that South by Southwest had shut down. And since we were starting our tour at South by Southwest, we really...
That's no bueno.
Yeah, it was like, oh, well, that one canceled. That was the biggest one. What else is going to cancel? And every single day, more venues would drop off the tour. We were doing a lot of colleges and schools as well, and other festivals and venues. And so just like dominoes, each one was just following like, oh, cancel, cancel, cancel. So we were just left wondering like, oh, what can we do, you know? And so I was talking with my business partner and like, bro, we got to pay the mortgage. What are we going to do?
Right.
You know, we've got this spare office. Why don't I heard about, you know, Airbnb and VRBO and stuff like that. Why don't I try to rent it out? Let's use what we have. What assets do we have to use? You know, can't use our music right now. Let me turn it into a bedroom. Let me throw it up online and see if we can get some renters, you know, and some tenants. And sure enough, converted this little office room into a bedroom real quick, threw it up, you know, online and got it started to get booking. And I started realizing, wow, this is a really cool thing. And I actually enjoy hospitality and I actually enjoy hosting people. So I was hosting people in my home and, you know, had people in and out all through the pandemic. And I started getting a lot of travel nurses because of that. And this is while I was in Phoenix. And I was near a couple hospitals there. And I just had doctors and nurses coming through all the time. Some would stay for a month, some would stay for 3 months, 4 months. And I just started realizing quickly that this was such a need and a niche that, you know, I could provide.
That's amazing. I love it. So tell us now, you are up to 11 rentals. Tell us, you know, how do you get from renting a bedroom to 11 rentals? What was that like for you? How did you see that opportunity of, okay, I'm onto something here, like let's keep it rolling? Tell us about that?
Well, at first, you know, I was just it was kind of a you know, a stopgap in between going back to touring. And, you know, we all thought the whole world would get back, you know, in a couple months. And so we're like, okay, we're going to plan out our fall tour. We're going to get back on the road. And as, you know, things progressed and we realized that's not the case, you know, I started thinking more long term and just thinking like, oh, shoot, you know, maybe I need to look into this more and research more and try to do this the best that I can, you know, with getting midterm renters and short-term renters in. And I guess as I was analyzing that and everything was kind of happening, I ended up moving to San Diego, actually into this house here. And I was renting it. And the owner saw how I furnished it. And it's all decorated with my musical gear. I've got plants in drum cases, my old touring drum cases.
How cool.
I've got microphones that I've converted into lamps. I've got guitars everywhere. I've got tambourines. And
how fun.
I have studio racks in the bedroom that are now a nightstand. And so I was showing the owner what I did with this space, and he's like, whoa, this is amazing. He's like, hey, can you do the same to my place next door? And I was like, sure. And so I fixed that place up, painted it, made it look really cool and nice, threw that up online. People were loving that, started booking that. Somebody else saw that and they go, wow, I love your design. I love what you're doing. Can you do mine as well? So I started doing kind of a mix of this, you know, not only rental arbitrage where you're renting the house and, you know, paying for it and subletting it out on these different sites like Furnish Finder and Airbnb and stuff, but then also property managing for these owners and co-hosting and doing the same thing for their properties. And then started consulting for other people and eventually taking over their properties. And then last November, I bought a house around the block that's on the canyon side that has this amazing canyon view and just 3 different multi-level decks out back that overlook, you know, this gorgeous vista. And It's just been like kind of just slowly, and I say slowly because it was just kind of like one after the other, but really looking back, it was so fast.
Right.
And I wasn't intending it. I was just, you know, it was kind of a proof of concept. This one worked here. I was renting out the 2 rooms here to travel nurses. And then it was just kind of proof of concept and then word of mouth. People just kind of going, ooh, you know, I've got this property here and I've got some renters who trashed it. I hate renters. and me just being able to be like, hey, well, if you transition to this model of midterm and short-term rentals, have them furnished, have contracts ready so that you can kick them out if they're bad. You can change the door locks if they're, not wanting to leave. You can do these sorts of things to protect your asset. And it just kind of organically grew, to now I'm doing an international property, my first one. So it's been a weird ride for sure, but yeah.
So tell us how many you own, individual units. Tell us how many are rooms and how many you arbitrage, meaning you rent and then you re-rent.
So I arbitrage 3 listings. I only own one full house, which I have split into 2 listings, a top floor and a bottom kind of a studio suite with a kitchenette. And then I co-host or property manage the others.
Okay, so on the co-hosting side, you are probably I'm assuming you're taking a cut.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that the co-hosting thing was a really cool way to grow quickly with hardly any risk, right? Because in the other models, whether it's arbitrage or owning, you have all this other risk. You're also paying for all the furnishings up front. You're paying for all the repairs yourself. You're responsible for the mortgage or the rent, regardless if it's booked out or not. If you don't make enough money or if it's empty, you're still paying that, mortgage or that rent. With co-hosting, the owners pay for all that. So with the deal that I made with a lot of guys in San Diego, it's literally just, hey, I'll manage it for you. I'll help you furnish it. I'll provide the guidance, but you pay for everything. And so that was a good method of kind of ramping up quickly. Another great problem to have is that I'm near a bunch of hospitals, and they're always looking for nurses are always looking for places to stay. And California is in such a kind of a deficit of nurses already and medical professionals that I think for the next 5 or 10 years, they're just needing, that influx, and they need places to stay. And San Diego is so expensive that if I'm able to provide an amazing, gorgeous looking home with all the amenities, it's all furnished, they can stay from a month to 5 months, 6 months, whatever, and not have to worry about anything. It's just such a weight off their shoulders.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, because I know a lot of people out there want to get involved, but they might not have, enough capital to put a down payment on a house or a condo or whatever, because it's an expense, right? And furnishing and everything. So this is definitely a new creative way to get into the space without having to have that risk and that kind of weight on your shoulders.
Yeah,
I think I'd feel more risk.
Do it.
No, I would feel more risk knowing that I had to provide for someone else. Like if I screwed up on my own properties, then it's just I have to fix it for myself. But you're almost at a higher level if you're managing it for someone else and telling them, hey, this is what I expect to bring in for you, But it's also good to keep in mind, know your state laws, because some states you cannot manage others' properties without being a real estate, having a real estate license. So keep that in mind. Make sure you know your state laws.
Yes, make sure you know your laws. Make sure you know especially with all the short-term rental kind of ordinances that are coming down, especially on the bigger cities, vacation cities. I know San Diego has some really, really strict ones here, and they've just implemented a lottery, which I think all my properties got through already. But there's a lot of changes, nationwide with that. Now with hosting travel nurses and stuff, if they're staying over 30 days, you don't really have to worry about it anyways.
Right.
But if there's anyone staying 30 days or less, then that becomes an issue, and you really need to be up on your city and state and county guidelines as well. So, if you want to do this for a living and keep it at a high level and not have some crazy interruptions because of you've failed to fill out some paperwork or you failed to provide the right stuff, do it right the first time, or try your best the first
Yep.
time. You don't want to be cutting too many corners.
I think you're making a very good point that is always important to talk about on the Landlord Diaries that we don't always get into is the value of midterm when it comes to a city standard is most of the time you don't have to apply to the short-term rental laws because you're 30 plus days. You don't have the hotel tax because you're 30 plus days. It's essentially the same as apartments renting out month to month. So you get a lot more
Insurance is
benefit.
also a lot easier.
What is?
I know insurance. We have a property down in Florida, and if we were to rent it for less than 30 days at a time, our insurance premium would literally be 3 times the amount per year. And
There you go.
insurance in Florida is not cheap already. So it's there's an insurance struggle down there as is, but if you do short-term rentals, you're looking at $15,000 a year in insurance. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I do want to add in for those that do have, because we have plenty of landlords that do both the midterm and the short-term model. And so I want to make sure and emphasize if you are having a hard time with your short-term rental laws, there's a great episode by the Live Let Thrive guys who do short-term and midterm that you should go find. And I can see if I can find it and put it in the notes. But it basically there's a guy that they interviewed that is going to bat for cities and helping educate the cities on why short-term rentals are actually beneficial, and so they've been able to overturn those laws in a couple like 10 plus cities since they're going to bat. So I'll see if I can add that in for y'all. But Live Let Thrive is the show.
So cities do need to put in good ordinances to regulate things. That's obviously a huge need, right? But the ones that do it correctly and that value the need for the services that Furnish Finder and us are providing, those are going to be the ones that really, really get it. Hopefully they do. And hopefully it will also kick out the bad operators and the bad hosts and the people that are destroying the neighborhoods and that aren't benefiting the communities, or the giant corporations like Vacasa or these other guys that are, taking up swaths of houses and doing a bad job. Hopefully that will kick them out and give us good hosts more inventory to work with.
Agree. All right, Gabe. So Kelly has told me that one thing you do extremely well is analyzing the market for demand. And this is something we get questions about all the time. I don't know if we've talked to one current or potential landlord who has not had a question about how do I figure out if there's demand, because there is, you put a lot into a property, even if you are co-hosting and you don't necessarily own that property, you put a lot of time and energy and money and just a lot into this property. And the last thing you want to do is get that property all ready to go. You get it listed and you hear crickets. So tell us about how you would go about that process of saying, okay, there's property over here or over there. How do I judge the demand? How do I judge if there's going to be a market for it?
Well, when I'm looking for properties, let's say I'm just maybe I'm looking on Zillow or something like that, right? Or Redfin, and I'm looking for properties that are either for sale or for rent, depending on what I'm looking for at the time. I'm looking at places that where would I want to go to vacation, or where would I want to stay, right? So I might be looking at Mission Beach or Pacific Beach or La Jolla or Ocean Beach, right? And looking at properties there. Because one of my, this is so basic, right? But I want to eventually have places where I would want to go vacation. So I want to have a place by the water. I want to have a place, in Florida. I want to have a place in Italy. I want to have a place in, Thailand, right?
I take
place
that.
in France, right? And a place in the mountains in Colorado, right? And so that is one of the most basic kind of things is like, well, where would I want to travel to, and where would I want to spend time? Then the second thing is, well, what would this property be able to be used for? Is it for, if it is by the beach, it's mainly going to be for people vacationing. Is this a vacation market? Or if it's near a bunch of theme parks, like we're near SeaWorld, right? And we're near the San Diego Zoo. Um, is there a bunch of stuff to do around here? Um, is this a vacation market? And then the other big thing is like, well, what else is going on around here? Is there a stadium for football games or concerts? Um, for working professionals, is there a lot of um, medical facilities, research facilities, labs, emergency rooms, all of these different things. And for remote workers as well, which I know Furnish Finder gets a lot more of these days as well. Are there big tech companies around here where they're flying people in? Are there construction projects going on that they're going to be needing a bunch of workers coming in, or engineers or something, right? So some of those is one is starting where you're at and doing what you can with what you've got. I think that's a huge one that I think people really miss out on, that they think, oh, I need to go to a vacation market. I need to go right next to a hospital. And a lot of people can do that and they can do it successfully. For me, I need to test out the water and make mistake after mistake after mistake to get through my thick skull, right? I can't just read even in school and even with music, I learn by ear. I learn from trial and error. I can't just read a book and theorize it and just go. I need to make mistakes my own and work it out. So by starting with your own house, by renting out a room in your house and dealing with those issues that come up that you don't know how to deal with and getting proficient with those and working out the kinks on a low level, then you can have a kind of a bigger picture of okay, maybe I can do something 10 minutes away, 15 minutes away, an hour away, south of the border, right? I know how to handle those problems. Mm-hmm. So that all kind of goes into my analyzing brain, if you will. And I think I've done it so much that it kind of comes second nature in a way where I'm kind of thinking all at once. But for example, when I was in Phoenix, I was looking around, what's around my area that would attract people. Well, I was near some baseball spring training locations in Phoenix. Okay, I know January and February are going to be hot for that. There's a bunch of golf courses nearby. Okay, I know a bunch of people are going to be golfing, right? There's some hospitals nearby. Okay, we're getting a lot of COVID responders coming in, or COVID aftercare responders coming in, It was trying to pick up on those cues. And, not only was I looking at Zillow and Redfin, but I was also driving around the neighborhood, driving around the area, looking at what's around. Or I was just looking at a Google Map images and seeing what kind of types of business were around there, or if there was hospitals. I think a lot can be done from, your computer, and just really, you could do some damage that way and really learn a lot. And I was consuming a ton of free online YouTube videos on how to set up your short-term and mid-term rentals, and just looking at what, worked and what failed, and watching other people's processes and going, oh, okay, I know I got to do this so I don't end up like this person,
Yeah.
And that's the key.
There's a lot to be said for getting in there, right? And like you said, just try it out, see what you see, and then adjust, right? But you can't adjust unless you get started.
Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, that I'm sure that's something that you guys tell your clients a lot as well, as this isn't just a get rich quick scheme. It's not 100% passive. It is really quickly scalable, as we've seen, right? And it is awesome. But, don't get into this thinking that it's just because you want an easy way out or you want to make quick
Right.
money.
Yeah.
It's not what it's about. It's about providing hospitality. It's providing a great experience. It's about growing as a person, learning more about yourself, um, and finding something that you're happy and love doing.
Yes. Excellent. And
Absolutely.
midterm rentals is just a perfect fit for that because you do get to meet so many cool travelers that may be traveling medical professionals. They may be digital nomads. They might be in the military. There's a huge variety of reasons people travel. So I am intrigued by your newest addition. We've got the international property you noted that you're adding in Tijuana. So tell us, why you chose to join that market and what you're hoping for out of this rental.
Well, I've San Diego's so close to the border that it's not too hard to jump down there real quick, and so that kind of goes with my motto about kind of staying local, right? I'm not going all the way to Cancun. I don't know that area. It would take too long to fly over there if something really bad happened, or I needed to get over there for some reason. So I wanted to kind of keep it in my backyard, but still kind of see it, kind of prove to myself if I could do it or not, and then use that as a base for launching deeper into Mexico. Because I love Mexico. I love the culture. I love just so much about it. And there's so much opportunity there when it comes to vacation rentals and midterm rentals as well. In Tijuana, especially, there's so much new medical facilities. So many people from America are going down if they don't have insurance for their cancer treatment or LASIK surgery or, a little nip tuck and, Botox here and there. They're all coming, going down to Tijuana to get it. And so there's all these great doctors, these great facilities, great nurses that are popping up. And it's a huge industry. And
I wonder if you could have a midterm rental just based on recovery, right? Someone goes down there for maybe a big nip and tuck, and you've got all the things that they need to stay there close to the doctors for 30 days, right? You've got a reclining bed, you've got wheelchair accessibility. Like anywhere there's a need, there's a demand, right?
Exactly. And, I had actually met a guy on one of the Facebook marketplace, Facebook groups who had about 20 like apartment units, like tiny studios, not even with a kitchen at all. But it was right next to one of the medical facilities. And a lot of it was people recovering for a week or two from their surgeries, whether it's LASIK or a boob job or whatever, right? They needed a quiet, dark place, free of distractions, just some place to rest up and recuperate. And so when I was looking, I wanted to do a mix of things. I wanted it to be a cool place to vacation and to recuperate from a medical thing or for nurses or doctors to use. So the place that I was looking for specifically, I wanted it to be near the beach, not too far away from medical facilities, have ADA accessibility, and also be safe. There's still a lot of, Tijuana, it still is a very dangerous place in certain parts. You want to be smart. You don't want to be stupid. You want to be cognizant, and you want your people to be safe and you want to be safe. So safety was a big concern of where I would be going. Robust Wi-Fi was a concern, right? Power out, places in Tijuana, power goes out, water goes out sometimes for, a day or two. Is there a reserve tank? Do you have a generator? Things like that. So each space has its own, unique limitations or unique things that you have to look out for and kind of prepare for.
Right.
But so the to back up, the house that I eventually ended up signing a 2-year lease on in Mexico, in Tijuana, is a block from the ocean in Las Playas. It's a gorgeous little beach town. It's upcoming. There's all these new buildings coming in, new businesses, new restaurants, new medical facilities. It's already handicapped compliant. It's got a giant massive handicapped room with a giant roll-in shower for wheelchair access
Oh, wow.
already, and has ramps on the first floor already, so that so if you could wheel a wheelchair in and out of the kitchen, you know, it had some really cool features. It even had, the owners had installed a higher gate for the garage so that they could get their Sprinter van in that had a wheelchair uh,
Oh, wow.
lift, right?
That's
So
great.
it was already set up for that, and that's just what I was looking for. And it had a unique kind of funky look to it, and it was really wild when I first saw it. And but now that I've kind of put my own spin on it, and it took several months to, like, we redid some floors, we redid the kitchen, and we did a lot on this one. But
Okay, I have to ask here. Hey, you're arbitraging this place, correct? So you are renting it. Okay. Second of all, long distance furnishing can be challenging, right? And Kelly and I have spoken to a handful of people who've done it. I actually just got done doing it this past weekend, where our latest midterm rental is 800 miles away from me. But luckily, it's 3 minutes from my mom's house. So I just filled her garage. Now, trying to furnish a place that is not only not 3 minutes away from someone's house, but in another country, tell us, how in the world did you do that?
I still don't
are
know.
you taking like a U-Haul van? Are you...
So one of the big challenges, right, is like, well, Amazon doesn't quite deliver everything there, right?
Right.
There's Amazon Mexico, but the supply is definitely different and limited. If you're bringing things over the border, you have to pay an import tax,
Right.
and it's hard to get things shipped there in a timely manner, anyways. So one other thing that I was looking at was a place that had that was already furnished, possibly, and this place actually was fully furnished. It was coming already. However, when I got really into it and really started seeing it, a lot of the furniture was old and too used and too worn and just rusted and just, not looking great. And so I ended up making a deal with the owner to say, hey, listen, a lot of this stuff needs to be fixed or cleaned or redone. Let's do a deal. If you're willing to do some renovations, to improve your property value, and because it needs to be done anyways, I'll oversee those. I'll make the arrangements. I'll help out. I'll get my guys to help out. I'll get some local people to help out.
Right.
But you have to pay for it. And the owner was like, hey, that sounds like a good deal to me. I can't handle it. I'm too far away. But I know these things need to happen. And so we worked out a cool arrangement where it's like, hey, okay, the kitchen needs to be redone. I'll help you deal with it, but you pay for it all,
Communication
But
is
I
so
did.
important.
Yeah, because a lot of times these property owners, a lot of times they know that the house needs help, right? They know that they need to do upgrades. They understand the value of it, but it's just a capacity thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And one thing too, I've done this on some properties here in the US where I've been talking to an owner about actually arbitraging it, right? Just renting it from them. Like I'll go down to an open house and I'll be like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to rent this out. I'll do a lease for 2-3 years if that makes you more comfortable, but this is what I want to do. And a lot of them will say no, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the smart ones are like, well, wait a second. So you're telling me you're going to make more money than I will on my property? Well, can you just manage it for me?
Good communication.
I'm like, no.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Thank you.
Right.
But it's a completely different service. And for a lot of property owners, it doesn't make sense in their business model, right? So they're leasing it. They're leasing it. That's what they care about.
Most property owners, they know nothing about hospitality. So that's where they fail, right? It's like if they're treating it like a normal tenant where it's just, you give them something and you don't see them for 2 years. or
Right.
whatever, and you don't
Right.
contact them, um, that's what they're used to, that hands-off kind of life.
Right.
So what I tell them, I'm pretty cutthroat, but nice, of course, but like upfront about it, is like, hey, listen, if you try to do this, you're going to fail because this is what you're used to. You need somebody like
Right.
me who understands hospitality. They understand what needs to be done. You need to provide the furnishings. You need to make it like a hotel experience or better. You need to provide the amenities. However, if you're willing to do that and pay for everything up front, then I'll take you on and I'll manage it, and you'll get X amount over what you were going to rent it to me for, right?
Yeah.
Yep. That's excellent
But
communication. I think that a lot of landlords don't know where to start on going after a property. Traditionally it's buying. Well, now we've got arbitrage and property management. So that's all really great advice. Thank you for sharing about how to analyze a market. I think there was a lot of valuable information there. And let's go ahead and move on to the Turo part. So you have this fleet of cars. Why did you decide to do that, and how's that business side of it going?
it's so funny. I just, it's just another example of looking for alternative revenue streams. In the
Mm-hmm.
music industry, you rely on tiny little income streams coming from everywhere, right? You've got your Spotify royalties, your iTunes royalties, your YouTube, your performance royalties. Maybe you have some film and television placements, or some, like my music gets played in like malls, or my music videos in like a Journey store in the mall, right? And so that's another income stream that comes in. Um, so you're making fractions of pennies, but when you put it all together, it equals kind of a normal paycheck, hopefully.
Right.
And so I started thinking about that, applying that to this new model. And it's like, okay, well, if I have a house and I'm renting that out, maybe several houses, and I just heard about people renting out their cars as assets. It's using your asset, using what you have, and trying to do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I'll rent out my car. Let's see how it goes. Started renting it out. Well, then it was getting rented out more, and I was spending more money on Uber rides because they were renting out my car. So I had to buy another car. And so
You
it was
sure
like,
did.
you know, um,
So how do
this is
you
a good problem to
analyze
have.
the the wear and tear on the car? How do you take that into consideration when you're calculating your profit margin for those vehicles?
Well, I look at it like anything else. Like if I'm driving my car, 10,000, 12,000 miles a year, what would the wear and tear on that be anyways, right? For
Mm-hmm.
myself, if I'm using it. But now if I'm working from home, and someone else is driving my car the exact same way, the exact same type of scenarios, how much of a difference is there really,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
So it's still maybe around the same wear and tear. There's a lot of, what I like about Turo is there's a lot of restrictions that you can put um, on the drivers or the guest, or rather, there's a lot of protections for the owners and the
Okay.
hosts. So I like that because I can restrict. I can say you can only rent it for 3 days or more, or
Mm-hmm.
you can only, you know, uh,
Gives you some control.
it gives you some control. You can make sure you're not renting it out to somebody who's just going to smoke a bunch of weed in it, or trash it, and or steal it. I don't allow
Right.
people to drive out of state. I don't allow them to drive out of country. I can track them. I buy all brand new cars or recently new cars, so they all have apps, so I can track them.
That's
Um,
nice.
and I have cars for different purposes. I have a truck for the people that need to haul things. I have a Forerunner for families that need 7 seats and they need to take their kids to Legoland. I have a Tesla that my buddy wanted me to rent out for him. And so I started arbitraging cars as well, in a way. I have a Jeep that another friend who's on the road a lot doesn't use as much, so I rent it out for him when he's gone, and people love the Jeep Wrangler. And so it just started growing organically as well. It's like, do a good job with what you have, and people will see that, and you kind of just start making slow strides up,
It sounds like you run
Yeah.
your rental cars just like you run your rental properties. It's you analyze a market, what would someone need it for, and rather than buying first and then analyzing, you analyze and then buy so you can provide the right means of stay or transportation. I love that so much. Katie, that is all of my questions except for I have one more fun question at the end. So, do you have anything else you'd like to add before my last question?
I have one more question because Gabe is a musician, which means he's an artist, which means he's creative. And I can just tell if you guys are listening to this versus watching it on YouTube, you might want to pop onto YouTube because I can tell just from Gabe's background that he has a good sense of design. And I have not seen your properties, but I can only imagine they look great. And another popular question we get a lot is, where do I look for my furnishings? How do I make my stuff stand out? So give us your 2 cents on that. What have you found to be kind of good places to go? Do you have any tips to making properties stand out against the crowd, or just, give a little personality to them? Because I have not seen your properties, but I'm going to bet money that they're not boring.
I hope that you're right. Yeah. They're
I
not
hope I'm
boring.
right too.
I have seen them and they're not boring.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I used to think I had no design eye whatsoever, and I still kind of think that I kind of suck at it. But I had a vision for the first house on how to design it with my kind of musicality in mind, and have it be kind of unique in that regard. And then as I started getting more and more properties under my belt, I started seeing the uniqueness in each property and trying to do something cool with it. Now, I haven't succeeded with all of them. Some of them are kind of standard. Some of them look kind of normal. But some look just really, really stunning and really, unique. I have a 1907 Craftsman 4-bedroom, like, what do they call it? Legacy home or vintage home,
Oh, wow.
historical home rather, that I've kind of tailored with modern themes, but also keeping that old woodworking and just the gorgeous nature of that old 1907 style, So it's
How
kind of matching
fun.
styles. Other properties I have are more modern, like this one. I tend to do a lot of looking on, in terms of furnishing, I tend to look on like OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace for some used but good quality pieces. And then also places like Living Spaces, Crate and Barrel, Wayfair Professional is really cool. You get a lot of good deals by going the Wayfair Professional route. If you have more than, I think it's 5 properties, you can go that route. I started working with Public Goods to provide public goods products in all of my locations, which I really, really love. So there's like instead of 1,000 different types of shampoos and hand soaps and cleaners, it's all one brand, and it looks nice and it's cool and it's sustainable. So I like doing those type of partnerships as well. I think it's a mix of just getting some really good quality used pieces mixed in with some brand new pieces that are going to last long, getting good warranties on things. Like Costco has great warranties on their TVs. If you're going to get a large screen TV, that's a good way to go. Don't be afraid to try some things, and do your own style. That's kind of how I did it.
Love it.
Oh, one quick thing I wanted to mention too. When people are coming into town to rent or book my properties, I always ask them if they need a vehicle for their travel. If they're going to be renting a car anyways, it might as well be one of mine. They're newer, nicer. They're not smoked in like Hertz or Enterprise or Avis, and they're going to be, comparable in price, and they're going to get something nice. So it's almost like an add-on that I'll offer and be like, hey, how many people are coming in? Do you guys need a car? Oh, it's just going to be me and my wife. Oh, well, I've got this awesome, 2-wheeled roadster that's super sexy if you're going out on a honeymoon or a anniversary or something. Try this one out. Or I've got the Lexus, or I've got the Tesla, or I've got the Wrangler if you're going up into the mountains. And what I'll do is I'll offer them like a free pickup from the airport or something, So they don't have to deal with taking a taxi to the rental car company, waiting in line, getting a smoky, nasty car, dealing with that. I pick them up from the airport. They deal with me. I drop them off at their house that they got from me. I give them the keys to their car and I walk home. It's which is a block away.
So what happens if you're out of town?
And then my assistant does it.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. So
That's
I try
awesome.
to.
It's always about providing a service, right? I think that's really what it comes down to, is providing a service. What service can you provide?
And if you can streamline it for them, make it so they're not dealing with a bunch of different people or a crazy check-in process or a crazy thing. If it's intuitive and it makes their lives easier, that's what hospitality is all about, right?
Yeah.
Well, this has been so fun. So I'm going to end with my fun question. Not to use fun too closely together, but oh well. I want to end with my fun question, which is, you're a musician and an investor, and I happen to see you have your guitar next to you. Would you like to give us a little jingle?
Sure, why not?
Can you make us a theme song?
Ooh, that would be fun.
Gabe, we need an intro, to our show.
Okay, what would be some hot word buttons? Some words that you would want to be included in this.
I got nothing. I'm not good on the spot. Kelly, what do you got?
I think he can think on it and get his mind going and just play us one of his favorites to wrap up the episode.
I was just going to be like this. Furnish Finder. Furnish Finder. Oh. Get online and find some furnishings. No, that doesn't even work. Never mind.
But I love
it. So this is a song I wrote called Let's Ride, and this is one of my favorites. And it's all about kind of conquering life's challenges with the person that you love and exploring the world with the person you love and like not taking things for granted. So we can fade out with this. This is called Let's Ride. You're just like the sunrise. I've been craving daylight. Everything that I want and need. Stuck inside a midnight, ultraviolet twilight. Everything that I need, so let's ride. Let's ride. Come alive. And leave all the worries behind us. They won't find us. They deny us. I just think it's so lovely that you love me. Don't be afraid to let the wind take us away. We'll forever be, they'll forever breathe. So take my hand and let the wind take us. Let's ride. Let's ride. Ooh, 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 ooh.
And that's on iPhone, everybody. So if you like that little bit, get online and search Gabe Kubanda for more. That's beautiful.
So amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Furnish Finder, Furnish Finder. Oh, if you're a nurse or a traveling professional, you know where to go.
We are on to something, Katie.
So amazing.
That'll be
so
50
amazing.
Cents to use that. That'll be 50 cents royalties, please. Thank you guys so much for having me. Everyone can find me on kubandaproperties.com or type in my name anywhere for all my music videos. Music on Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, wherever. It's just Gabe Kubanda wherever you go. And I have 3 new singles coming out this coming year. So I've been back in the studio because I've been able to have more time free by having Furnish Finder and short-term rentals, kind of having that income, and I've been getting back in the studio and recording. So yeah, thank you guys so much for having
It's
me. It's been a
amazing.
blast.
Love it. It was so good to have you.
It was. Thank you so much. And remember, if you like this episode, don't forget to comment on YouTube or subscribe. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye bye.